Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? Here we go. Your dial is set correctly to USA Prepares. Jason is engineering the broadcast at GCN in Minnesota. I'm Vincent Finelli. If you'd like to call us, we'll pay for the call. 866-582-9933. 866-582-9933. Telephone listen line 605-477-3249. Quick update. Tomorrow, Friday, Dr. Margaret's going to be with us. We're going to be talking about strokes part 2, 102 in the series. Absolutely riveting, brilliant broadcast by Dr. Margaret about strokes. And I've received a number of emails. It brought tears to people's eyes because they were thinking of their loved ones. And if they had known a little bit more, they would have done a little bit better, including me. So, I was a caregiver to a stroke victim, and it was emotionally tough, but you can do it. You can. And tomorrow's class will help you know more about what you need to do. And we're going to give you some examples. It's a how-to. It's a do-it-yourself class on taking care of a stroke patient. Then hour number 2 will be tips from the book, the way I do things, the way our family does things, and why we do them the way we do them. And I'd love to hear from you. I've only heard from one person, Kyle in Montana, saying that he would like us to continue with these tips. If you would, let me know. If you don't want me to continue with the items, let me know that as well. And you can call anytime about that. Dr. Richard Allen Miller is with us this morning. Welcome, Rick.
Good morning, Vincent. I noticed you did not do your normal weird laugh before you start the show this morning. You normally always laugh before you even say anything.
I'll tell you why.
I know. Yeah.
Mark, we were talking this week with Dr. Margaret about, she's in Spain. She's faculty, and she's a speech pathologist and linguistics. And she told us about how a stroke affects a person and what you need to do to communicate with someone who just instantly loses their ability to communicate. And they're trapped within their own body. And, they know what's happening, but they can't tell you. They can't.
Right.
And it's brutal.
It's a terrible point of realization. Mm-hmm. Imagine what it must be like for someone on the other side trying to speak to you right now.
That's what we talked about. And 1 minute, we're okay. The next minute, the person's trapped in their own body. And I was thinking about my dog. And this actually ties in. Thomas Jefferson is a large dog. And so if I'm sitting down, if he wants attention, he'll walk up to me and he'll sit right next to me and he'll lean on me. Then if I don't pet him and hug him, he puts his head on my lap. And if that doesn't work, he raises his paw and puts his paw on my lap. And then if that doesn't work, he'll nudge me with his big face. And his face has got to weigh 25 pounds, maybe 30. I mean, it's huge. I couldn't even get a collar for him because a size 36 belt is not big enough for his neck.
You have to stop feeding him those children.
and mailmen and
mailmen,
delivery people.
You've got to stop that.
You've got to stop that.
You've got to stop feeding him those children. Mailmen, mailmen, and delivery people. Yeah.
And delivery people.
You've got to stop that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, and I am as well. But what I'm saying is he knows what he's thinking, and he knows what he'd like to do.
Look at the size of his brain case.
Yeah, well, way bigger than mine.
Well, no, I wouldn't have gone there with you, but on that one. But of Mastiffs, they're the smartest of all the dogs. They're the gentlest around children, and they're basically that broad front that he has. It's for going through the water after frogs. And, that's what they classically were about. When I was in Cambodia, that's what we used for our perimeter, was English Mastiffs. If you had two litter of English and you whelped them together, but we had 9 in our perimeter, there's nothing that gets through that perimeter. Nothing.
Well, they're quite impressive in their demeanor, in their attention, and they lumber along until they sense something urgent, and they leap to action. And it appears that they're lazy, they're slow. Not true. When they sense danger,
yep.
They are up and at 'em. Interesting thing is he knows TJ Thomas Jefferson, our Mastiff, knows a few words, and he knows inside, outside, in the kitchen, in the garage. Where's Cooper? He knows the names of our children. I can say, where is so and so, and he'll start barking like, let's go find him right now. And but he can respond to the words that he knows, but he can only speak a few words. Like when he wants to go outside, he'll go, ruff, 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 ruff. And that it's clear that there's a sense of urgency, and he wants to go out now. But he only knows a few words to speak, and that's what happens with a stroke victim. They know what they're trying to say. It just doesn't come out, in many cases. So that's tomorrow. Rick, I was doing a little bit of research about 5G, and this is a continuous kind of research. I've been doing this for well over a year now. And from what I understand, 5G, the 5th generation, is the 5th progression of 1, 2G, 3G, 4G, and now 5G. And 5G was developed by the military or for the military as an active denial system. The idea was if they're coming at you, just turn on the 5G and cook them. Heat them up. And the reason that they used 5G instead of 1G or 2G or 3G or 4G is because 5G is the smallest wavelength there is. There will be no 6G. 5G is it. And about the maximum
quantum mechanical
that this wavelength can travel.
Yeah, the bandwidth is in quantum mechanical range. For certain molecules, it's smaller than certain atoms. That's correct.
And so, whereas let's say AM radio has a 1,000-foot wavelength, FM like a 10-foot wavelength, a 5G is 1 millimeter. Now, the thickness of a penny is 1.5 millimeters. So this is a tiny, tiny wavelength. And the longer the wavelength, the farther it can travel. The shorter the wavelength, the less distance it can travel.
Needs more.
So we're looking at a maximum.
Yeah. That has to do
we
with
need
friction.
the maximum. Okay. So the maximum we're looking at is about 1,000 feet. So the companies that want to populate the Earth with these things are going to have to, these towers are going to have to put them about every couple hundred of feet, maybe every 500 feet. So the question now is, why?
It had 10,000 homes that had these on it, each one having a meter. And what happened in those little blue so-called laser lights that they observed from space, that was a smart meter going unstable and sending a signal to the next smart meter. And what happened was 10,000 smart meters went unstable all at once, just like a nuclear winter where you have a heat cloud from an exploding in the atmosphere nuclear weapon. This 5G is worse technology than exploding a nuclear weapon in the atmosphere and creating a solar winter, where the thing creates a cloud of fire that consumes the earth. That was always why they wanted to ban nuclear detonations, because of what it would create in a firestorm. And 5G amplifies that problem by more than 2 zeros. Now, it's literally, dosimetry has an LD50 ratio right out of the gate. Those 1,200 people that are still missing from Paradise are most likely in the ash because the fire was of a plasma nature, which would vaporize metal and glass. And why certain things were charred to the ground and other things standing around it were okay, like bushes and trees. This is one of the reasons why 5G cannot, will not, and most likely shortly will not be used. They're trying to push it on the United States, and we're basically saying no, just like Europe did. But Japan and China are another matter. And once this technology is instigated into our technology, the level of threat for off-the-grid situations and spontaneous explosions anywhere and everywhere, creating a rain of fire down on Earth. This is an endgame weapon. It is now banned in small cities around Paradise like Kotati and others. Up here in Oregon, certain counties like Curry County have banned it, and it will no longer at some point be useful. They're going to try to push it, and they will probably get it approved in certain countries like China. But at this point, it has already been proven to cause cancer, just like your cell phone. And the conveniences of being able to charge on the fly rather than having an outlet that you have to plug your phone in at night is eliminated. And it's not a convenience thing. It is a technology strictly oriented toward making money with no real safety. Just like nuclear radiation waste material. Where are you going to put your waste material? Well, we'll worry about that later.
We're talking about wireless charging.
That's my humble opinion, and for me, I would not have anything to do with anything that supports that, including smartphones. I carry a track phone, a throwaway, because I use them for emergencies if I'm on the freeway and all of a sudden my vehicle breaks down. I cannot necessarily anymore depend on law enforcement to help me. They're no longer there to serve and protect, and so I carry a track phone to call a friend if I'm broken down. And I have had to do that.
Hold that thought. Class, Dr. Richard Allen Miller's with us, our senior instructor, physicist. Rick, you mentioned wireless charging, and I've been following that. There's a company called Energus, Energous, I believe it's spelled, or something like that. And these guys are trying to let people believe that wireless charging is the way to go. Heck, you don't have to have that 3-foot cord from your USB wall charger to your phone or your little device. Well, from my research, 90% of the energy is lost between the transmitter and the device you're trying to charge. So let's just make this very, very clear. Let's say we are making spaghetti sauce on the kitchen stove, and we decide that the amount of spaghetti sauce we want is 1 jar. So we get 10 jars, and we go to pour the 10 jars into the pot that we're going to heat the spaghetti sauce in. We're going to simmer it. We get 10 jars, and 9 of them end all over the sink, the stove, the floor, and one of them makes it into the spaghetti sauce pot.
That's
the kind of waste we're talking about.
That's an accurate overview.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think it's doing to the environment?
Well, that's my concern.
Like bumblebees, that can now considered the most important life form on Earth. Well, we already know what it does to them. Why?
Yeah, they're gone.
It confuses
They're gone. They're dead.
They use that bandwidth for navigation. When they encounter those bandwidth frequencies, they get confused and are unable to function correctly. Kind of like a stroke victim.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
yeah, that's exactly right.
Read it and weep. Why would anyone promote that? And I would be very critical. You want to do something right? Write individual letters to these companies like Vincent comes up with. If he can come up with an address, write a pointed letter asking them, what exactly is that doing for a bumblebee? See what they say. I'd be really interested to hear their response.
Or write a letter to your Congress critter or Senate critter, and or your mayor who's thinking about knuckling under.
How about California?
Pressured by,
what do you think they're doing in California right now this morning with the fires that are going on in Northern California today? Yesterday it was in Southern California. What do you think those are all about? You don't think that that's because the forests are dry and there's an accidental forest fire? Or is something else going on? And I can tell you that from space, you can determine, and Suspicious Observer, Jet Propulsion Laboratory, all of them are saying that the fires that are encountered in California today are of plasma nature in terms of heat. Now, there's only one thing I can think of is the variable there, and that's a smart meter. And why are they doing it in California, of all states in the Union? Why not Pennsylvania? Because California is going to be given to China as appeasement for the trade deficit. Watch me and see what happens next.
So, Rick, here's a micro example. So you go to your doctor's office, and let's say the clinic, an independent type clinic, not associated with a hospital, and they want to make the waiting room kind of pleasant. So they have a big fish tank in there, and you get to see one. You can't put your hand in the fish tank because only the glass front is available for, touching the glass, if you will. The rest is behind the wall. So, but in that doctor's office, there is Wi-Fi. There are all these patients who are glued to their cell phones while they're waiting. So we've got the radio frequency transmissions from the cell phones. We've got the Wi-Fi. We've got the telemetry in the doctor's office. We've got the iPads that are transmitting the patient data because they don't use paper anymore. They've got the wireless notebooks and laptops, and it's all wireless, and those fish are being cooked. And so are the patients. I'd love to hear your comments when we come back. Dr. Richard Allen Miller's with us. Rick, I mentioned typical doctor's office in a clinic, and where they have a little fish tank for the little guys to be amused while they're waiting for their parents' appointment, let's say, or while they're waiting for their appointment. And these doctor's offices have Wi-Fi, wireless notebooks, wireless laptops, wireless iPads where they take patient information and update it wirelessly. They've got the computers at the control tower where they check you in, check you out, make your appointments. And they've got wireless everywhere. And then people in the waiting room are on their cell phones.
Doctor, I'm 76, so I can't fire him, because if I did, I wouldn't be able to have a medical doctor. Nobody touched me. Basically, my doctor doesn't care about me. He cares about his money. And that's what he's been doing, trying to put me and others like me on meds, because I'm old. He can get in a circular thing 4 times a year with Social Security. And I'm at his mercy in some sense. I walk into his office with all of this Wi-Fi and crap going on, and his little laptop he holds. He comes walking in, swishy. He's a Seventh-day Adventist. He should be ashamed of himself. And basically, what happens next is he said, "Oh, well, we just brought you in." First thing they do is they cuff you off the street, and if your blood pressure is up over 130, and everybody's is, there's no way that you can. He says, "Well, I have to either put you on meds or fire you." He's going to fire me if I don't take meds. I told him, cuff me again. Now, the only reason I got away with that is that I have had practiced biofeedback for 45 years, to the point where I dropped my heart rate down to what I needed it to be, 129, and that was that. And he looked at me, I looked at him, and there's a war going on. Now, I've had enough, and today I know, oh, this is a beautiful picture of Rick, except his missing tooth. You know why I have a missing tooth and didn't get it fixed? I can't afford the dentistry. It's bullshit. And worse than that, it is terrible for people my age, and I am watching what they're doing to me now, and the way I'm being treated as an individual. Now, I'm more competent today than I ever have been in my entire life, and yet, do you think I could go out and get a job with my knowledge base?
Well, let me ask you this. Rick, can you go to a kiosk and type in at Walmart, which department you'd like to be in? Can you check that box?
I can run Walmart. And the thing is, I have run Walmart. I had 102 employees at one time in my life when I was younger. And I have learned a great deal about personnel and why you don't want to have large corporations, because it's more trouble than it's worth in many ways with having everybody get along with each other. That's the worst thing that happens in big corporations, personnel. Now, with that said, I've been there, done that, and now I can't believe how I'm being treated, because I'm 76 years old. And for me, my goal is to be Dr. Norm Shealy when I'm 96. That man should be very proud as an individual that walks his talk. That's a doctor you can look at and say, wow, if he's doing that for himself, what can he do for me? My doctors, oh man, what would be wrong with going to a fat doctor? Well, there it is. And okay, so now we're starting to get down to criteria for making judgment. And I've had enough. And this 5G crap is worse than nuclear radiation by 2 orders of magnitude, 2 zeros. And I'm here to tell you, of course you do not want it. Look at what it did to Paradise. We had refugees that came up here with horror stories on how the thing was leaping from one house to the other, and it was like, it was out of control. And PG&E said, no contest. And they admitted it, and yet they persist. And the big question now is, why is that? And you have to look at what China is doing and where California is going to go next.
Okay, so Rick, 5G was initially developed for or by the military, as I have learned. And
well, everything is done by military first. That's where all your basic research in any breakthrough field has military application prior to health and or convenience.
Yeah. So if we have a riot or if we have a demonstration, can we just point this and just cook these people? You know, we don't have to shoot them and have blood to clean up. We'll just point this and burn their eyes. We'll cook their skin. We'll make them feel like they're being boiled from inside out, and they'll run away. What a great idea. Hey, let's build one of those. And then we get the Verizon types, and they want to use them for cars. And pretty soon, if the generally dumb public doesn't get it, we're going to have these every couple of 100 feet along the highways.
Well, that's what's happening that's what happened in Paradise, and that's why it's Paradise. It no longer exists.
And as you travel down the road, you're just thinking, well, heck, you know, I've got my old antique car. It's 25 or more years old.
Watch what it does to the telemetry of your brand new automobile with GPS, excuse me. Watch how your navigation thing is knocked out when you come into a very high-end radiation of 5G. And you have to go and reset your navigation system. That's right. Now, if it's doing that to your car, what do you think it's doing to your brain?
Right. And I'm thinking that the best helmet that I own to protect my brain is a World War II Third Reich helmet, because it comes down over my ears.
Too bad. You could wrap your head in aluminum foil. It's not going to work because 5G is such a very fine bandwidth that it wiggles its way through threading.
Right. It would go.
That's the reason you can't go into space. Gosh, get a grip. You have it one way or the other. Which way is it? The radiation from that is so toxic, and there is no shielding. Well, there may be now, but that would be strictly military because it does not exist in the physics I understand.
So, Rick, if someone were to shoot a 45 caliber, 45 ACP projectile, a cartridge, and let's say that that bullet, the part that travels, the projectile part, travels at 850 or 900 feet per second. Let's just compare that to 5G. If I'm not mistaken, 5G travels at the speed of light, which is 186,000 miles per second.
And there's nothing small enough to shield it from wiggling in through the spaces between an atom to go through that and onto the other side. Welcome to the New World Order.
So how stupid can these people be?
They're not stupid. The whole thing is a blacklist where they're trying to take control of Earth.
Okay, so are you saying that they turn this on? Are you saying they turn this on, kill us all except for them, and then when they've killed us all and we're all rotting?
No, they'll keep people around for cattle.
Okay, so somebody's got to eat.
It's a threat, and everybody is afraid.
All right, and so
that's the first enemy.
All right. So what's the answer, Rick? We have these ignorant.
Just like nuclear power plants. Just say no. Turn the switch off.
Well, here's what happens. Rick, I tried this. I tried 4 different ways to get on the board of the directors of the electric company. I tried price. Let's lower.
Advocating civil disobedience. Okay. Now, there's no other, at this juncture, I don't see any other way working. You can form lines like we did up in Portland and have the police come in and hurt people and arrest people, and you have an arrest record, which means now you can't carry a concealed weapon. The whole thing has been designed to take away your rights before you even knew what happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what I'm saying, Rick, is I've tried 4 different ways to get the generally dumb public to understand. I tried their pocketbook. Hey, we can lower the electric bill. Oh, my electric bill's fine. I'm okay with it like this. That didn't work. I talked about electric grid security. Hey, we need to protect our grid from being taken out by a bunch of crazies who shoot at the transformers in the substations and take down 10,000 people at a time. Oh, that's idiotic. That's what I was told. So that didn't work. Then I tried smart meters. Smart meters cause cancer. I said, smart meters cause cancer. Doctors have said it publicly. Smart meters have caused cancer. I want to be able to opt out and have anyone opt out of smart meters if you choose. If you elect me, I'll do my best to make that happen. They laughed at me. Rick, we are working with the dumbest of the dumb, and it makes me sick because we have mayors, we have municipal managers.
Why you have your posse comitatus. And listen, it's going to be militias, it's going to be your home front, it's going to be your neighbor that saves your life.
70.
And it's going to be one doorstep to the next. And as far as I'm concerned, low profile, so they can't take your rights away. If they'll look at try to form some kind of legal claim against you so they can take your weapon away. Once they have taken your weapon away from you, you have very few options left. Ammonia in a squirt bottle works just fine. I have them deployed throughout my house. Should I ever have a home invasion, I have a weapon within an arm's length anywhere in my home. And I'm done. In blackmail, I am being set up right now for blackmail, and I don't care because I grew up in the Philippines, and that's still little death. I will not die in slow pieces. If somebody tried to blackmail me, I'm willing to go down to take them down. And that's why they don't mess with me in that sense, because I have real clear boundaries. And that's what's not happening now, is that people have not yet begun to define what's important to them on a personal level. And once you've done that...
All right. Dr. Richard Allen Miller's with us in class. We're talking about a extremely dangerous threat to all life on the planet. We're talking about 5G, the fifth generation of wireless communications. Very, very short wavelength, 1 millimeter. It's the smallest there is, and it can wiggle in between atoms. There's no defense against this type of radio frequency, as I understand it. And what I'm learning, I'll just read you this article, dailycaller.com. The political discourse, or lack of it, has apparently become so caustic in the United States that 67% of those surveyed in a poll released Wednesday believe another civil war is imminent, end quote. What this is saying is almost 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10 people believe that civil war is imminent. Now, what are some of the indicators that this is true? Well, one is that you have had a really tough time buying ammunition, right? And especially 22 caliber cartridges, 22 long rifles specifically. You used to be able to buy them for, let's say a penny a piece. 50 cents for a box of 50 when I was a young person. Then 89 cents, then 99 cents, and $1.09. And then pretty soon it was 10 cents a piece, if you could get them. Well, I have a feeling that one of the reasons why they've disappeared is because they would be the ideal cartridge to knock out some of the telecommunications devices that are being installed all over the United States. Now, I'm not advocating it as a radio broadcaster. I cannot say to you, go out and plink at these towers. So I'm not saying that. I want to make it very clear. I'm not saying that. But I have a feeling that's what's going to happen. And so it's been very difficult for you to get cartridges of all kinds. The Chinese factory outlet, Walmart, has stopped selling or is selling down the remaining inventory of small cartridges, like the ones that fit in handguns. Okay? So they are disappearing. So it's getting tougher and tougher to find small cartridges like 22, 380, 9mm, 357, 40 caliber, 10mm, 38 special, 38 super, cartridges like that, 45s. Well, I suggest that if you're interested, that you jump on this now. And you can go to the internet and you can buy a case of 22 long rifles for around 2 or 3 cents a piece. You buy them by the case. It'll be $5,000 in the case, and you have it shipped to you. You can buy it on the internet. Will there be a record? Yeah, there will be. But there's going to be a record pretty much wherever you go. You're going to be on camera. If you go into the Chinese factory outlet, if you go into a gun store, you're on camera. You're on camera anyway. If you pay by credit card, there's a record of it. So it's pretty hard to get around it unless you go to a gun show and you buy it privately and you wear a mask. So that's one thing. That's one indicator that we're headed towards civil war. Here's another one. The federal government has said, the FCC, Federal Communications Commission, I guess maybe that should be called the Federal Communications Corporation, in my opinion. Here is what it says. It will become illegal on September 30th, 2019. It's already passed. It will become illegal to sell or offer for sale or advertise radios like the popular Bofang UV5R that can operate in the FRS radio band. FRS is family radio. And any other licensed band in a single device. Manufacturers will have to either quit selling them or block out the family radio frequency bands like they already do for current cellular bands. What I'm telling you is family radios have been banned. Now, the brand I'm talking about is Bofang. It's a Chinese radio. It's a cheap radio. It's got a lot of capability in a small package, and they're cheap. And it's spelled B-A-O-F-E-N-G. Now, if you go to eBay and you type in Bofang, B-A-O-F-E-N-G, you'll see that the Bofang UV-5R UHF VHF dual band two-way radio ham radio walkie-talkie, that's what it would say, is available for $19.99 each, shipped, no tax if it's sold from a state that you're not residing in. $20 a piece. And you can get these radios and they go a couple miles. And they have all kinds of frequencies and they're incredible. But you can't drop them. And they come with a rechargeable battery, antenna, earbud, charger, everything you need. It's right there. You need a minimum of 2. But the federal government says can't buy them. No, they can't advertise for sale. But they're available right now on eBay. Right now. And the best ham radio that you can get for the money, that's it. That's it. The best value. And I'll tell you when we come back what I consider the best value in a FRS family radio. Hour number 2 of USA Prepares. Dr. Richard Allen Miller is with us. And Rick talked about contacting, your local elected representative. He didn't use exactly those words, but, if you want to get your opinion known, he mentioned, companies, writing to companies, writing them letters. Well, if you want to get your opinion out there, what you can do is you can take a white piece of paper like copier paper, printer paper, and you can write, Mayor, if the guy's name is Joe Dokes, you could write Mayor 5G Dokes on the front, send it to his home, his office, if he's a part-time mayor, to his business, and then on the back you can write "You're fired," and that will get the message to him that he is not in favor with whoever wrote that letter. Now, some people don't even include a return address because they want to do it anonymously. This kind of thing has been done over and over, and it's very effective, and it gets the point across. So some people have done that, and I just want to let you know that that has been done. I'm not advocating that you do it. I can't say go ahead and do it on the radio, so I'm going to say don't do it. But some people have, and it's been extremely effective. Rick, I mentioned that I would talk about which radios are really good, and here's my thought on this. So, class, if you watch The Walking Dead, a series that I said is required homework, if you want to survive, you need to see what it's going to be like. You need to watch the series The Walking Dead. And if you've watched Jericho, which I've also said is required homework or suggested homework, and if you've watched Survivors, which was an English production from the 70s, there's one thing in common, actually a couple things in common. You know, after food and shelter, the big problems are defense, meaning lack of guns, lack of ammunition. The other thing is lack of communications. So after food, water, and shelter is defense and communications, because people are going to go out there scavenging, and they will become victims if they can't communicate back to the central camp where they originated. All right, so the Bofang radio is a great way to go, but your government does not want you to have them. So then and that's a great radio, but it's not durable, in my opinion. But what is durable is the Motorola walkie-talkies. They are the family FRS, family radio frequency type radios. And I believe the ones that we have are Motorola T59 something, 5900. They're kind of a rounded bottom. They come with a charger. You can buy the replacement lithium batteries for them for about $2 a piece, and you should get some of those, and they work really well. Okay, here it is. I think this is it. I'm looking right now, bringing it up. It looks like Motorola. Looks like the part number is Motorola SX600R. It looks like that. They are blue, and they really work well. And so sometimes when we need to communicate from one tractor to another when we're baling hay, it's a great way to go. They say they go 5 miles. That's a wish. Maybe over the ocean they go 5 miles, but across land they might go a mile at the most, maybe 3/4 of a mile typically. So you can get them, and they're available for like $15 each used. Here's one for $13.50. Motorola Talkabout T5200. That looks more like it. Motorola Talkabout T5200. Make sure you get it with the charger so you can put the lithium batteries in it. So, Rick, those are my comments. Any thoughts?
Well, there's always smoke signals and a bull roar. Roar, 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 roar. The Australian outback. That's the way I used to remember how to do it. You know, having personal walkie-talkies, what you have are drop holes throughout your property with a cover. And you go down under, and you set up camera, and you just watch. Watch what happens every night around your property. Isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever done that?
Mm-hmm.
You stayed up all night just to see what animals and what creepy neighbors do?
Yeah, it's the creepy neighbors. That's the big concern.
The creepy neighbors. And my turkeys leave shit piles everywhere on my second floor. I put out bird food, and the turkeys come in, and they don't realize that Thanksgiving's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, and I understand. I'm going to talk about tomorrow I'll be talking about some of the things that you may want to consider for
about biorhythms,
your survival.
Didn't you? And circadian rhythm.
I did. Circadian,
That's an important concept, because I've done some massive research in that specific area when during the 70s. It used to be circadian rhythms were, when you woke up and you got your body, if you weren't taking drugs, you started to get into a regular pattern for when you'd go to the toilet, when you brushed your teeth, and you had a pattern that your body accustomed itself to for health. But circadian rhythms are actually a group of rhythms that are in and out of sync with each other. And that came out of Poland during the 70s, called biorhythms. And there's a bunch of them, not just one or two. There's like more than 4. The ones that you can get online and get a free calculation on will put your emotional body in sync with your physical body and your intellectual body. When you're at your peak thinking, when you're at your peak feeling, and when you're at your peak physically. Now, those are gross anatomy of something far more subtle called subtle bodies. And you have a series of bodies in your on the physical plane. You have the physical body, of course. There's a body that we've talked about a little bit called chi, that is on the outside with microtubules and structured water. And you've seen the things with Bruce Lee and, Skip Ellsworth, some of these martial artists where just with a single thought, they can throw you across the room because they're dialoguing with these subtle bodies. And that's what the non-local mind is about, how to begin dialogue with subtle bodies. And once you've done that, you can take things like placebo, that is 10% in our normal allotropic medicines today, your mind's eye, and you can expand that to 60%. What you believe is going on becomes true. And for health, for unity, for thought processes, and other kinds of things. And the way you do that is the release of specific neurotransmitters done with intent. And the way you do that is everybody can create that chill going up your body. Go ahead. Everybody listening right now, try to see if you can, at this very moment, create that chill, that little cold thing that goes up your spine. That is dimethyltryptamine, and that particular neurotransmitter, if you do it correctly, you can regenerate nerve tissue. And I've written a paper that will be part of the non-local mind on how you begin immortality on a physical level. Now, it is a process. It's not an end game. You don't reach, if I'm lucky with my models, I may live to 130. Norm Shuey, look at what he's doing with himself. It's unbelievable. He practices what he preaches, and you can see it, literally. I mean, the guy looks healthy, and that is where you're trying to go with your mind's eye and these so-called circadian rhythms, plural. Circadian rhythms are not 24-hour. They vary, and each one has its different things where you're often in and out of sync with yourself. And what you're trying to do is maximize when you're in sync with yourself. And previous technologies prior to the 20th century concepts, they called those tattvic tides. These are the tides of the moon and other planetary forces that affect your so-called astrology, astronomy, cosmobiology. And the cosmobiology part is the part where we're now becoming aware that what is most important is what you think is going on. And that's why in my statements I will say this as the most important thing I can say this century. Man has a responsibility for the thoughts he chooses to entertain. Once you understand that completely. You will now understand the critical importance of training the mind and using it as a tool. Because your upper brain, the brain that you would normally associate with the mind, is a tool to make all your beliefs true. It is about the mind's eye and how psyche goes into matter. Sorry about that.
Let me see if I've got this right. No, that was brilliant. Did you say, and I want to make sure I got this exactly right, man has a responsibility for the thoughts he wishes to entertain? Is that what you said?
He chooses to entertain, not wishes.
He chooses. Okay.
Man has a responsibility for the thoughts he chooses to entertain.
Okay, I wrote that down, and I couldn't write it down fast enough, so I wanted to make sure I got it right.
And here's chooses, and I make a very critical distinction between the one and the other.
Mm-hmm. That's why I asked you. I want to make sure I got it.
Hope, where you're leaving it to some entity outside of yourself that will grant you a boon. That's why hope was considered the last evil in Pandora's box. It's not about
man
hope.
Has a responsibility. Man has a responsibility for the thought
he chooses to entertain. You have choice.
Okay.
And
I've got some comments about that.
Over another, glass half full, glass half empty, apocalypse impending. It was Joseph Campbell that said, when you see the kingdom of the Father on earth, the apocalypse has already occurred.
Rick, just one more time. George, I see you're on the call screen. We'll be with you in just a minute. Quote, man has a responsibility for the thoughts he chooses to entertain, end quote, by Richard Allen Miller. Rick, that leads me to thinking about what we've been talking about all of this broadcast, 5G. We have people who are entertaining, we choose to entertain their thoughts about 5G. Some people want it. It's insanity. Nuclear electricity, that's insanity. Elon Musk saying that there will be 20,000 satellites in space so that we can have 5G almost everywhere across the United States.
Just like in the movies. That's where it's going to go. That's what it will look like. Pinhead. Earth will be fried from the outside in. Like microwave goes from the inside out, we are going to be fried with microwave band technology. And that is exactly what 5G is about. And the bad news is there is no shielding known to man at this time. None. No shielding.
So, class, when you think about this, when you think about who fired the first shot of the Second American Civil War, one of those people firing the first shot will be, in my opinion, Elon Musk, with satellites everywhere, with these, I don't know what word to use.
Elon Musk is not your problem. Lockheed and the cabal, or what they call in blacklists, the cabal, that's your problem. And it's time we started naming names and bringing them out in the forefront like you would uncover a rock and watch the insects scurry.
Rick, are you saying Elon Musk is not a problem?
No,
He's
man.
got these
He's made so many mistakes that he is a fall guy. He's not the real problem.
Rick,
the real problem is not somebody you know.
I understand that, but we can identify him. He's the guy that is at the forefront of the resurgence of electric vehicles.
Let's call him Reddington, and he's the guy that everybody thinks is the bad guy. He's just a front stooge with money to be taken out as a sacrificial lamb when they go for the throat. And by the way, this is right now the end game. And I'm going to say something else. Old Dogard called me and told me that this next week there is a high likelihood there is going to be a European 9/11 to take the banking system out now.
Who called you?
Dogard. The guy, he's from the Netherlands. I'll send you a link on that one if you'd like. He's all over the internet. He's talking about a eminent European 9/11 to take out the banking system.
Okay. Send me a link and I'll make sure that
these people doing Tesla and these cars and things like that. It is a group of individuals that you will never really know their names.
Okay. Well, I just want to say this, class, that some of the, we'll call them in quotes, features of the Tesla cars, like the retractable door handles. You know, when I go to open my door handle, I
can take control of your vehicle when you're in it. Watch what happens then.
Or if you're in a crash and your vehicle's on fire and you're in a Tesla and the fire people, the firemen and firewomen are trying to open your car to get you out of the flames, and they can't because the door handle has retracted inside the door and there's nothing to grab. Nothing. And you burn alive. And that's what happened. That's what happened.
There's a bunch of things that are going to be, that's what happens. It's all circumstantial, and watch this common vector.
George will be with you when we come back after this bottom of the hour break. George in New Hampshire. Class, we've been sounding the alarm about 5G and the dangers therein. Please tell everyone you know this has got to be stopped. George in New Hampshire, welcome.
Hi, Vincent. Hi, Dr. Rick. Gentlemen, I want to share something with you. Now, we're being opposed by technology, but also by entities that are behind the technologies. There's legends and various traditions and various religions around the world that talk about the fallen ones that came down from heaven, and they shared with men, like the Greek legend, fire, which can be both a boon and a curse. They taught men how to work in metal. They taught men. It's in the Old Testament. It's in the New Testament, which I believe is the closest to the truth that you're going to find on this earth. Now, what I'm saying is not to preach to you, but what to show you something. Because something happened to me a very long time ago that I asked for something, and it says, ask and you shall receive. It says, you will not fear the terror of the night, or the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks in the darkness, nor the calamity that destroys at noon. Now, what I'm saying to you is this. We can prepare outwardly as well as we can, but we may be somewhere else when whatever goes down, goes down. Dr. Rick, I know you know this, that time is not, and I know you know this too, Vincent, time is a fluid thing, but it slows down.
It's a construct. It's not real.
Right.
It is a duration of consciousness. It's not real. It is a construct of mind like space is. Space is also not real.
All right. Now, you said a very good point, but the point I'm going to add to that or extrapolate on is that, do you ever notice that in this culture, like I'm sure I can't speak for each one of you, but I know, Dr. Rick, you've traveled far. I can't speak for you, Vincent. I haven't traveled very far, but I remember one time I went to an island in the Caribbean, and time was so slow. I was in the center of the island in the mountains, and when I say an hour would be like 15 minutes for them, I would think was an hour because I was so speeded up because, let's face it, at one point or another, we Americans, we wanted it to go Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Friday. Saturday, Sunday. We wanted the weekend to come fast and fast and faster. And you can see what's happened now is that, as you said, Dr. Rick, about it's a construct of the mind. We've actually speeded up time. I may not be saying this in a real learned...
The quickening.
Yeah. Okay? But I'm going to tell you something else. I asked one time to God, I asked why I couldn't see him, why I couldn't talk to him. And I was despairing about a certain point in my life when I was a young man. And what happened was that I was led to something that taught me how to be still in the moment, be still and know. It's almost a lost art nowadays, but if you're still in the moment, time slows down. Have you ever looked at the clouds in the sky, and if you really focused on them, did you ever see the clouds start to slow down and even stop?
Yes.
Time was very slow for me yesterday.
That was one of the first protocols I trained SEALs in terms of how to change their perception of time with breath control. And Kenny G epitomates that concept when he can blow a single note for 9 minutes.
But all right. And like I said, but Dr. Rick, how did you discover that? I bet it was revealed to you when you were very young.
I had a Sifu Tai Chi master that came down from Victoria once a week into Seattle to teach at Dr. Bestier's Naturopathic School of Medicine when I was a boy. And he saw something special in me, and so rather than teach me the normal kata, he decided to take my 18 years of Hangao, and show me something different with Tai Chi. And so for the first full year, all I was allowed to do was learn how to walk. After that first year, the second year, he took me into a special room by himself, and he says, "You follow me." And I started following him, and the next thing I knew, I was doing Hangao and experiencing it as Tai Chi with that level of precision that allowed me to become world champion in the fifth form of Tai Chi called double sword. You give me two swords, and nobody can take me. And that's that. And that was the first of many lessons I was given in the study of Tai Chi. You do not learn Tai Chi. You study it. Each person is different in the way you integrate those life lessons. And that's why there are as many religions on earth as there are human beings. And church is for fellowship, to take a certain belief system and help integrate that into your way of being. However, a belief system is arbitrary and is there as a tool, not a God-given absolute. And that is a second lesson I learned, that it's quite obvious that belief systems are there to make your reality the way you choose to make it. And you have a choice. And that's what made us God's favorite, because the length, girth, and width of our options is unbelievable. And at the moment of death, you're given one last choice, and that you can find well described in the Bordeaux Thedal, the Tibetan Book of the Dead. You have the choice of the tunnel of light or the blue light. And the blue light is when you go back to God, and the tunnel of light reminds me of a birth canal. And when you die, there is a 5-gram weight loss in the body with every single person. And 5 grams of structured water is enough memory in terms of what we're currently using as gallium arsenide in our chips in a computer. It's 1 million times more efficient. And 5 grams is enough to hold 1 million lifetimes of memory.
But Dr. Rick, you're on a level where you've had the opportunities to study with certain masters. But for the average person, they do not have that. What I have found to be about the best purest form is anyone can go, and it's free. It's antidoteforall.com. 7 minutes of sitting quietly in a chair, and it will teach you to regain the inner sense, which is really inner sense.
Well, that's why all your saints in history have stressed the importance of meditation. However, meditation, as we've described it in Western literature coming from the East, has to do with bliss states. And that's a specific area of the brain that Persinger and others have studied. However, there are other places in the brain that you can go to that are different than bliss. And by realizing that the brain is an amorphous semiconductor, a liquid crystal, it is a four-dimensional hologram of five space. And where you choose to go in your brain determines the movie you're currently enjoying.
And it also determines your ultimate destination, because there are dangerous
and we all
forms
have
of
different
meditation.
places we're going. That's why truth is unique for each of us. And the truth is not out there. It's inside each of us.
But remember, the source, the stillness in the center, whether it's the spokes of a wheel, if that radiates within the very center, is still.
Process. You never get there from here. It doesn't work like that. Simon says you can go halfway to the door. And
yes,
as
but what
you
I'm
go
saying
halfway
is
to
that
the door, you focus not on the door, but the journey.
I understand, but I also see that Simon may say one thing, but God says another. And what God says is that, seek me. In the quiet times you will find me. But in this garden of earthly delights that we find ourselves in, delights, which means it takes away the light. And that's why all of these competing systems around us, even the thoughts that have been traumatized, the traumas that we've experienced in growing, they get inside of us, these pieces of the outer world.
Here's the best news. Everything is broken, and that's how the light gets in.
No, the light is from within.
Did you hear what I just said?
Yes, I did, but what I'm saying, when you said the light gets in, where does it get in from?
The only way that light gets in. In other words, light seeks the darkness.
Well, the darkness, but when you said light does not seek the darkness, light seeks to redeem, and the darkness understands it did not.
Well, your interpretation is good for you. Mine works for me.
All right.
I mean,
but wait a minute. No, but I'd like to say something now, if I could. And that is that a lot of these Eastern meditations drown out reality. When they say the word Om, you could say the word spaghetti and meatballs and it would mean the same things. Om. It drives out the realization, the consciousness of the individual that has been robbed from the world that was set up and is populated by entities, like it says, let no man teach you. The truth, it's a razor's edge, Dr. Rick, a razor's edge. Many get close, but what I'm saying, what does it say? Narrow is the way, but few there be that find it. And they're not teaching you how to find it. They're not teaching you how to choose, because look at the people who think they're free, but they're not, because they're so convinced they're free, you can't even show them that they're enslaved, right?
That's why I don't just meditate for bliss. You don't change my words. I am very precise on why I say it the way I do. And it's different for every single person. It's not the same.
But
I can only
still say, no, but
words.
The truth, are you telling me that there's no absolute truth?
Exactly.
Well, then, that's an absolute, isn't it?
By definition, truth is that which cannot be known.
Truth is
Everything
an ongoing journey
only
that we will find in eternity if we seek it
and
in
that's
this
a
life.
Christ consciousness in a missing sephirah called dot. And the path that goes through that is humor that marries the hermit with the lovers. Androgyny, either internal or externally realized. I am a scholar in this area, and I know I'm a physicist as well, and can absolutely tell you that's why we have two brains, with Malcolm in the middle. And actually, it isn't Malcolm. I'm now going to call him Malcoma.
But that's why Jesus chose the simple Galileans that were uneducated fishermen.
Hold that thought. Gentlemen, hold that thought. We'll be right. RichardAlanMiller.com, RichardAlanMiller.com. If you'd like to peruse his website and buy his books, that's the place to get them. Georgia, New Hampshire's with us, lively discussion, and you can see how bright the instructors are at USA Prepares right now. Rick, we were talking about Jesus. Did you have a comment?
Well, Jesus went to India for 20 years and studied the Upanishads. And I have studied the Upanishads. Hopefully, we all will, at some point, have some understanding of the older books and how they were used politically. One of the primary things I have taught everybody is that beliefs are tools in a toolbox. They are not absolutes. Truth and belief systems are tools to use for your purpose here on earth. And your purpose is something you never really absolutely gain. The only people that I have ever met that had Nam, or grace, were fifth plane masters that chose to come back to help men rather than move on toward God. And I understand that relationship from my own personal point of view. If you had been born in Afghanistan, you would not be a Christian. And that's that. Now, is Christianity the absolute? How could that be possible? And Christ said it in his original words. And the bottom line is that the truth is inside each of you. And what I have discovered from my limited vocabulary is that it's different for each of us. And that the reason you go to church is to achieve fellowship with people with similar beliefs to help you in your own moral codes of ethics and rules of conduct. And they're different for millennials as they are for Gen Xers, as they are for old farts like me. And I understand this, and there's nothing I can do about that part. What I can do is train my people that when they go to Afghanistan, if they go to Afghanistan as Christians, there's a high likelihood they're going to get their team killed. And so, like a favorite sweater, you don't throw the sweater away. It's just not appropriate to wear during a hot summer. And you fold it neatly and put it away to bring out as a tool when it's appropriate.
May I say something?
Please do. Please do.
Number one, something I've been wanting to do for a while now, Dr. Rick. I wanted to apologize to you. I'm hard-headed. It doesn't mean that I'm wrong.
All right?
No, I know. But at the same time, I did not mean to demean
disparage
your thing.
I'm aware. Don't concern yourself. Thank you.
I like you, Dr. Rick, and I know Vincent. I like you both, and that's why we're here.
Yes, that's exactly correct. So that your and my voice will help the next person find their own way home. And there are as many roads to Rome as there are human beings.
I agree, but we should be headed for the same home because we come from the same source. Not all.
Good luck with that. I'm typo negative. What do you mean, white man?
I know, but the transfusion of conscious truth is still being exchanged between us. And if someone is compatible with the truth, Christ, if he was to come back in the 21st century and look at what passes for Christianity, I think he would repudiate it for the most part, and I think he would not recognize it. And I think that the bulk of them that would look at him would tell Jesus that he was not Christian enough.
You know what? There is 2 scrolls in the Nag Hammadi that, and I believe this or not, when I came out of grad school, I studied with Gershom Scholem for 6 years, learning Old Hebrew and Greek. And I know I don't know, but there are 2 scrolls that suggest, one scroll suggests it was not the king of Jerusalem that they put on the cross, because that is politically bad berries. What they did is they put his brother Simon on the moon, and a second one suggests that they gave a poison to him to simulate death so they could get him off the cross, so Simon was able to live. Now, are those true? I don't know. Those are documented, historical, leave it out of the Bible, Constantinople levels. And the Church of Rome may in fact be your Antichrist. Now, I don't know, because they call this Pope the last Pope. Good luck with that.
That's the power center of religion. London is the power center of finances.
It's terrible what's
we're
going
the
on.
power center of military. But it's all coming down to a beast system.
We're out of time.
How does
George
that
from New
work?
Hampshire, thank you so much for
Are we there
joining
yet?
us.
Thank you.
Rick,
My pleasure.
Rick, thank you for joining us. See you all next week.